Now, you'll be able to do business, you'll be able to do everything you can do now, only do it as a free person instead, and a person who has the sovereign powers of a sovereign citizen. But it may take a little time getting adjusted to it and getting used to it. So take your time. Take the time that it takes to study and to learn for yourself and to choose for yourself. And then be prepared to defend those rights once you've reclaimed them. Because the government isn't all that willing to see the sovereignty be restored to the people at this point. They're all too happy right now to be the masters. But somebody's got to step forward and draw the line in the sand and tell the government to go back to the limited authority and jurisdiction that the Constitution laid out for you. And quite frankly, the more the merrier. If there's only one person on that line, it's going to be a lot harder to hold the line back than if there's 10 million people on that line. And right now there are anywhere between 500,000 and 1 million people reclaiming their sovereignty in this country, and they are afraid to death of that. When they went bankrupt in 1933, they went bankrupt for all the U.S. citizens, not the sovereign citizens. But unfortunately, the sovereign citizens turned in their gold just like everybody else and figured, well, this is the patriotic thing to do. They believed that at that time because they didn't know any better. So if you want the government to go away, make them obsolete. And restore the institutions that we do have available, the jural societies, the constitutional republics. Those things we have. We have the American system of law right here at our disposal. I think perhaps for the first time in history that all the pieces of the puzzle are there. We can see the whole thing transparently now. And by the end of this evening, I hope you'll all see it as transparently as I do, and how all these different things relate. The sovereignty, the citizenship, and now we're going to talk about politics, economics, and law, and you're going to see how all those systems relate. And then you're going to see transparently that they only have one agenda. There's only one agenda. It's very simple. They just want to control the world. And they're using every means at their disposal. Political means, economic means, legal means, military means, police means, media, propaganda, deception, distraction, demoralization, terrorism, whatever. The federal United States is a corporation and a national government both. When the federal government went bankrupt for the first time in 1930, which may be news to some people, but to others it's not news. But the government has been bankrupt 7 times in this century. And every time the federal government goes bankrupt, it has to reorganize. It has to raise the debt ceiling and go begging to the Federal Reserve to borrow some more money to keep the doors of the power structure open a little longer. Otherwise, Congress would be on an indefinite vacation, which might be a good idea. Who really directs the federal United States are the creditors. This is no great mystery to those who understand the law. Now, if you are a bankrupt company, corporation, or individual, who directs your affairs? Your creditors do. A bankrupt entity no longer has the legal power or authority to direct its own affairs. Every time the federal government went bankrupt, it had to transfer its authority over to its creditors in order to reorganize the assets to resolve the bankruptcy to the satisfaction of the creditors. Otherwise, they would go on permanent vacation. And so it's very easy to see why the elected representatives and the president and all the agencies of government are so beholden to the creditors of the federal United States.